Coming up, Jonathan returns to one of his favorite muck dives in search of an elusive fish, the Stargazer. Welcome to Jonathan Bird's Blue World.
This might look like a plain old bridge. Nothing special. A way for cars to cross over Florida's intercoastal waterway. There are lots of bridges like this. This one, however, is special. It's the Blue Heron Bridge in Riviera Beach, one of the most famous muck dives in the world. The intercoastal waterway is connected to the ocean, but protected by land, so it's calm. Water moves in and out with the tides, but without big waves, it's a great place for boating and diving. Who would think that in the sand around the pilings of this bridge would be a world-class dive site for rare marine life? Cameraman Todd, Zach of All Trades, and I head on down to Riviera Beach, Florida for a critter diving adventure. The last time I was here, back in 2016, I saw all kinds of stuff, like batfish, an octopus, and a jawfish with eggs. But I definitely didn't find everything that the site is known for. My quarry today is the elusive Stargazer. They're here, but they're really hard to find. Our adventure begins with a quick trip to Force East Scuba to rent some scuba tanks. And I'm gonna try to convince my friend Jeff Nelson to be our dive guide because he knows where all the cool critters are.
Hey, Jeff! Good to see ya!
How's it going?
How are you?
Good.
This is Todd.
Hi. How you doing, bud?
So what time's the tide tonight?
6 o'clock. We're getting in the water. Getting wet.
Man, we better get going. All right.
Located at one end of the Blue Heron Bridge is Phil Foster Park. It's a nice beach under a bridge. If you love the beach but you don't like the sun, this is the place for you. We've arrived at sunset because the tides determine our dive schedule. You can only dive at slack tide to avoid excessive current. Right on time, Jeff shows up in his rolling dive shop.
It's Jeff with the big scuba van!
If he doesn't have it in there, you don't need it. Jeff dives this site almost every day. We have a chat to discuss what animals he's been seeing.
I mean, my ideal would be a stargazer.
All right, so stargazers are starting to come back.
Yeah.
You've seen them before bury themselves?
Yeah.
So when you see one, though, but look for that peppery top, that speckly top head. 2 eyeballs always, and then look for that zipper mouth.
If there's any chance of finding a stargazer, Jeff will be the one to find it. Soon, slack tide is approaching, and it's time to hit the water, so we start suiting up.
I haven't been scuba diving in a while.
After being stuck home during COVID for many months, it's really nice to be back out diving again.
Suck it in.
This is such a fun dive. I'm always excited walking down to the water. I know I'm going to see something cool, I just don't know what it'll be. We don't even swim out. We start the dive in waist-deep water because we'll find stuff immediately. Jeff takes the lead, pulling our dive flag floating above, which keeps us safe from boats in the shallow water. It's already a night dive, but if anything, that makes it easier for Jeff to see stuff with his powerful flashlight. We're not even 2 meters deep and he starts finding seahorses everywhere. Most of them are brown and camouflaged, so they're very easy to miss. I don't think I would find most of them on my own. As I film something, Jeff looks for the next cool thing. The seahorses here have a lot of experience with photographers, and I think they've figured out that we won't hurt them, so they're pretty tolerant of our lights. While filming this reddish seahorse, I noticed that the rock in the background is moving. Wait, is that a rock? It's a batfish, one of the weirdest fish in the ocean. It has pectoral fins turned around frontwards to work like feet. It has hidden gill openings in its armpits so it can stay camouflaged. There's a pouty little mouth and a lure that comes out of a hole in its face. Wait for it. There. The water here isn't even as deep as a swimming pool. The batfish seems pretty sure that its camouflage is working, but finally it gets tired of me and decides to swim away, which looks like a combination of swimming and waddling. Swaddling? Definitely not very graceful. Soon I find a flounder, expertly camouflaged in the sand. Unlike most bottom-dwelling fish, flounder lie on their sides, not their belly. But in the adult form, both eyes end up on the same side of their head so that one of them isn't buried in the sand. That gives them good vision from that low vantage point and super camouflage. Nearby, Jeff finds a sole, which is basically the same thing as a flounder. This one, known as a naked sole, doesn't have particularly good coloration for camouflage, so it has a trick. With a light dusting of sand and pebbles, it blends right in, ready for ambush. Moving along and scanning the bottom, I come across a burrowing anemone that lives in a tube in the sand. And nearby, a fireworm, an animal with needle-like bristles. This is one critter you never touch. In a small patch of Halimeda algae, we come across a pair of trunkfish in a rare green coloration, making them well camouflaged. And not far away, a large cushioned sea star marching across the sand. Its bright coloration is the opposite of camouflage. It's called aposematic. It means, go ahead and try to eat me, I dare you, I taste bad. Heading back towards the beach, I come across a juvenile yellow stingray hunting in the sand. Stingrays are like swimming metal detectors. They have electrically sensitive pores on their underside that can detect the presence of living things in the sand. So they scan the sand as they swim and eventually suction up a clam or a worm. This little guy finally got something. As he swims, I can see his claspers, so I know it's a male, and his stinger, which is why he's a stingray, not a skate. Talk about camouflage, Jeff finds a scorpionfish hanging out in a pile of rubble. Although these fish are not aggressive at all towards people, they have a potent defensive sting. You need to be careful where you put your hand. A little pufferfish escaping from my lights runs right into an arrow crab minding its own business, who gives a few defensive jabs. Excuse me, sorry, coming through. It's hard not to love arrow crabs with their spindly limbs, blue claws, and a face like a cartoon character. Speaking of crabs, we find a little decorator crab which has covered itself in red sponges and a couple little white coral polyps. It's a tiny walking coral reef, but unfortunately it looks like maybe the camouflage has gotten a little bit out of control. It can barely walk with all that stuff. And maybe a little front heavy, like an overstuffed scarecrow. Nearby, a sea robin. Sea robins have 3 fingers for digging. They're actually pectoral fin rays that are no longer part of the pectoral fins. And talk about pectoral fins. When sea robins spread their pectoral fins, it's a display of size and color, which is probably designed to make them look larger in an effort to discourage predators. A scuba tank lasts a long time in 10 feet of water, but after nearly 2 hours underwater, it's finally time to head back to the beach. The next morning, it's back to the bridge for another slack tide. Todd and I suit up and hit the water.
Everybody, have you subscribed? You know we only put out like 1 episode a month, so you're not going to get a lot of notifications from us. So just hit the button.
Once again, Jeff has our safety float and his eagle eyes for critter spotting. During the day, it's a little more apparent that this is not deep diving. I feel confident that today we will find that stargazer. We spot an upside-down jellyfish pulsating on the bottom, waiting for the strong sunlight that powers the symbiotic algae in its skin. Jeff takes me over to an old mooring with a bit of rope still attached. There's a tiny striated frogfish that lives here. But it can be very hard to find a frogfish, even when you know it's around here someplace. Just when we're about to give up, he realizes that it moved from the mooring to the end of the rope. The frogfish is so small that I don't even realize what he's pointing to. Once I actually see the teeny fish, I switch over to my super close-up lens. The striated frogfish, otherwise known as the hairy frogfish, is one of the most sought-after creatures of this dive site. Looking like a sponge covered in marine growth, the hairy frogfish waits patiently for prey. She's only about the size of my thumb, but this is a serious predator. She has a fishing pole on her forehead. On the end is a tiny little lure that looks like a worm.
Here, fishy, fishy.
I'm fascinated watching her behavior as she walks on foot-like fins to a better spot. But then she decides that the original spot was better. Obviously, waiting for prey can be boring. Back to fishing. Jeff returns and rescues me from a curious fireworm. My prolonged presence watching the frogfish has elicited the curiosity of an octopus. I guess I'm interesting. But not that interesting. Swimming along, we find a tiny section of reef. All the fish hang out on the reef, while just a few feet away on the sand, it's a different story. On another reef, a school of sheep's head hang out. Reef fish like reefs, so out here on the sand, any small patch of reef is like an oasis in a desert. And since the reef is kind of small and the fish really don't want to leave it, they allow me to get pretty close. Jeff leads me on towards another spot he wants to investigate for a stargazer. We don't find a stargazer, but we do find this little guy. He's a dragonette, a tiny fish only a couple inches long. He has a big yellow dorsal fin that he uses to impress the female dragonettes.
Hey baby, check out this awesome fin!
She is not impressed. Oh well, there's plenty of fish in the sea. Jeff just keeps swimming, and I'm beginning to wonder how far we're going. Soon he starts heading under the bridge, on his way to the other side. He knows where he's going, so I just keep following. I hope I have enough air, but we're only 10 feet deep, so if I have to surface, I'll figure it out. On the other side of the bridge, Jeff finally spots what he's looking for, the telltale face of a stargazer in the sand. Buried up to the eyeballs, the stargazer is the ultimate ambush predator. It can sit still without moving for days. I can't believe he actually found one. Jeff tries to remove the sand a little without spooking the fish so I can get a better shot, but the fish knows she's been spotted. I don't want to lose the fish that took so long to find, but if I follow too close, she'll panic and bolt out of range. So I have to hang back and, swim casual-like. Finally, she stops. Jeff and I keep our distance so she won't flee again. She landed in a spot with too much rubble and not enough sand, so it's not a good spot to bury herself. And that's lucky for me, because now I can see what this awesome fish really looks like when it's not buried. I know I don't have long to film. She won't sit here exposed like this for more than a minute or two. Slowly, I move closer. The trick is to get a shot from a safe distance, then move up a foot and get another shot. As long as I don't come in too fast, she won't think I'm a threat. Hopefully. So, are they called stargazers because they have star-like spots? Or because they gaze at the stars with those skyward gazing eyeballs? Maybe a little of both. She's being super cool about the camera in her face, but eventually she's ready for a spot she can bury herself and takes off. After what seems like forever, she finds an appropriate piece of soft sand and demonstrates the process of digging in. She's gulping lots of water in through her mouth and then blowing it out through her gills at the bottom of her body to blast the sand out of the way. So she digs with water pressure. And poof, just like that, she's gone. I feel bad for the next unwary fish to swim by. With our tanks getting really low, Jeff and I turn around for the long swim back to the beach. The tide has started to turn and the current picked up. Fortunately for us, we're drifting with the current, so that helps us get back more easily. And we're back in no time. Diving the Blue Heron Bridge is always an adventure. Whether it's night or day, there are all kinds of creatures to see. Some animals are easy to find, but for the rarer things, having a good guide really helps. The rubbly, sandy environment has cultivated a wide variety of adaptations for survival. Finding something like a stargazer is not easy, but when you finally find it, what a rush to see something so rare and amazing in the blue world. Hey everyone! Have you subscribed to our Extras channel, Blue World Plus? It's full of great behind the scenes and additional fun content. Check it out now!